Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video. I have been looking at some stuff and finding videos online of stuff that I just didn't even know exist. And part of it is because I'm trying to understand what Dave Filoni thinks, because I'm noticing, and if you've watched any of my previous videos the last week or so, there's a lot of really contradictory statements. There's a lot of things that don't really make any sense. And there's a lot of things that contradict even very, very blatant, deliberate decisions by George Lucas that he has sort of bucked. But then at the same time, we're being told by the media that he's, George Lucas's apprentice and protege, and he's going to be able to do everything right, and yada, yada, yada. But then I'm seeing a lot of these interviews where it doesn't jive. And then I'm seeing decisions he's making, with his shows, Ahsoka particularly. And so I came across this video of an interview with him and Favreau during The Mandalorian. And I think this is a season 3 interview. It looks like Dave and John clearly have very, very differing opinions about some stuff with Star Wars. Which, if those are the two main guys at that time, now it looks like Favreau's kind of moved away to some extent, and maybe this is part of it, is some of these disagreements. Why would you have these two guys running your creative department or writing stories for Star Wars, being part of your story group? They don't agree on the most basic things. The most basic things. This interview blew my mind, and it's only a couple minutes, guys, but because this is just a segment of it. But it blew my mind that these guys are not on the same page with these issues. And then it really illustrates why Star Wars is not making any sense, why there's so many things that are contradicting each other. Dave literally contradicts himself. And don't get me wrong, Favreau's not off the hook here either. He makes a couple of statements here that I will easily debunk as well. But this is really an illustration of the problem. I think they just rushed it. I think Kennedy, as an executive, thought these guys would be good, and George thought they'd be good, but they aren't. They really aren't. They're arguing about basic lore, and they are contradicting themselves, especially Dave. And it's kind of mind-boggling. So let's listen to this, and then I'll break it down afterwards. You guys, this is so mind-boggling. I can't even believe it.
The interesting question is how you define, when someone is a Jedi. That's the real question, because a Jedi is a way of training. It's a way of philosophy and being.
Well, Grogu definitely trained with a Jedi.
He trained when he was young, right?
And also
However,
with
Luke trained, and then Yoda didn't confirm that he was a Jedi. Remember, he says, "Oh, you think you're a Jedi? You're not so fast."
But then he also said,
"When you're
gone, you'll be the last. You'll be the last Jedi."
When I'm gone.
I'm gone.
So it's interesting. It's
but we've seen a few more popped up.
Yeah. This is all we do, by the way.
Okay, so there's so much to unpack here. This is insane. Some of the statements, for Dave Filoni to even... First I thought he was being facetious, he was joking around. You're actually going to argue whether or not Luke was a Jedi?
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Yoda even tells him he doesn't require any more training. Luke goes back, I need to train more. No, you don't need any more. That's basically saying he's a Jedi. Why would... you need that necessarily that confirmation, but at the same time, because Dave's you need that confirmation, but he does give it to him. He says, "No more training do you require, and the last of the Jedi will you be," as Jon Favreau says. What is happening here, guys? This is nuts. This is supposed to be George's apprentice, and he's debating this. Let's say you give him the benefit of the doubt, and he's trying to say he's talking about the philosophy and the commitment to it and all of that stuff. Okay, but then you write a Mandalorian that's training to be a Jedi. Sabine can't train to be a Jedi if she stays a Mandalorian. She can't. They do not fight. They only defend themselves. They do things out of self-defense. That's what Luke was taught by Obi-Wan in the original trilogy. The Jedi kind of got off of that a little bit, although you could argue they were defending the Republic with their fighting, but they did get off of that in the prequel trilogy, which is part of the problem. So how does that work? Because then he's saying that Sabine's training to be a Jedi through Ahsoka, who said she isn't a Jedi, but you need to be affirmed. Yoda had to say, "You are a Jedi, Luke," to affirm it in Dave's mind. But Ahsoka's not a Jedi, but she's training Sabine to be a Jedi. So when Ahsoka says officially, "You're a Jedi," is she a Jedi? Is Sabine a Jedi when she does that? It's so stupid. This is just idiocy. What are you even arguing about? It doesn't make any sense. And then, yes, of course, Yoda does say that Luke's a Jedi, as Jon Favreau says. This is so dumb. But Favreau, he made a stupid decision with Grogu, too, when he's like, oh, and Grogu trained at the temple. Yeah, but he learned healing at the same time that Anakin was there and was a kid and was learning as well. Who did he learn healing from? How did he learn it? And if he knew it, why didn't Obi-Wan direct Anakin towards that person to maybe help save Padme rather than letting him slide into the hands of Palpatine? Like, did none of the council know about a healer Jedi that was at the temple teaching Grogu? Did they not know about this? So they've both completely screwed it up. But at least John, like, he's saying, like, this is pretty, you know, this is the most basic of basic things, and at least he gets it. Dave, I have no clue how this guy's running Star Wars. If I was running Disney and I heard this interview, it's instant, bye, you're no longer working here. This is nuts. And I think he's changing things and going against all this stuff now that George is out of the way, because it's easier to write. Everything they're doing is about ease, right? World Between Worlds makes things easier to write. You can change things. You can have people jumping in and out of timelines. It makes it easier to retcon things. And that's his whole thing. So, oh no, you don't, you know, a Jedi is a philosophy, but, you know, it isn't, but it is. He keeps everything vague so that you as the audience are just like, what's going on? It's just like my last video talking about Sabine, how he literally says in an interview, a podcast a few days ago, that she's struggling to learn the Force, but after just a couple of days and failing, does a pretty big Force thing by pushing Ezra like 100 feet into the air after you started to fall from like 150 feet away or whatever. So which is it, right? So he contradicts himself constantly, but and then they're mad that like people like me criticize their writing, and it's like, bro, you say things that don't add up to what you're putting on screen. You just kind of want it open-ended so you don't have to follow any rules because you can't write. That's literally what it is. He can't write. People forget this guy's career started. He was a storyboard artist for Lucas, and then Lucas said, "I'm not going to have a storyboard." I can't remember which project it was for. It might have been a Clone Wars project. And Dave didn't have anything to do. And so George kind of, you know, well, I like Dave, so I'll kind of bring him in and we'll have, you know, the writer's room and we'll have meetings and stuff. And I'm sure he can contribute. He's been around for a while writing these storyboards. He's literally a storyboard artist, guys, who was just handed everything on a platter. Like, he's not a writer. He's not a good director. He can't direct human beings, clearly, when you watch Ahsoka. The Clone Wars isn't too bad, but that's animated, so the facial expressions, all that stuff is done by animators and overseen by guys, you know, in that sphere. This is not the savior of Star Wars, and if he's actually sitting there in an interview that goes on TV for the public to see that Luke isn't a Jedi? What? He wasn't officially made a Jedi. I'm not. Like, have you watched the movies, Dave?
Then he also said, when
trials.
You're gone, you'll be the last Jedi.
So first of all, he had to pass his trials. Like, it's just Ray didn't pass any trials, and you were for that. Like, you just doesn't mean
you'll be the last Jedi.
When I'm gone.
I'm gone.
So it's interesting. It's like,
but we've seen a few more popped up.
See Favreau? He said you'll be the last Jedi, but we see a few more pop up, and then he touches his nose and kind of like, because it's stupid and doesn't make any sense. And that, to me, right there shows a very, very massive creative divide between these two guys, and it's probably a big part of why Favreau walked. Because Dave Filoni is just completely ignoring the lore, bastardizing it. You know, is he the last Jedi? Isn't he? Is Ahsoka a Jedi? Isn't she? There's all types of Jedi all over the place. But there isn't, but there is. This is a mess. And this is totally sad and ridiculous that these two guys are talking about this most basic stuff. But there you go, right? So that's another thing. There's all these Jedis running around when Yoda said that he would be the last Jedi. So it doesn't make any sense. This blew my mind, guys. I'm still finding stuff. I can't believe it. You guys let me know in the comment section what you think. For me, this is like a Twilight Zone crazy land we're living in right now. Yeah, let me know what you think, guys. Like, is this a serious divide? Is this why Jon Favreau maybe walked? I mean, we don't really know for sure, or did he walk? But he's definitely not as involved as he used to be. What do you think of Dave Filoni, like, being anointed, going from the storyboard artist to now running this show, and he just doesn't even know the basic stuff? Like, this is really telling for me. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Thanks for watching this video, guys. And if you do like this content, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Check out any of my other videos, especially the more recent ones that do address some of the other issues that have been happening with Dave Filoni and the creative decisions that are being made. Have yourselves a really good day.